Hello everybody. So today we are going to be looking into a utility program that will effectively allow you to write all of your functions in a hidden text file instead. So you could send them to your friends and tell them to run it, so long as you don't use it for malware or whatever. It's technically fine. I want to preface though that using this method of executing code from a text file is very dangerous, not very good for your security, and really you should only be using it if you know the source, and you should only use it if you are maybe trolling in a group project or something. Hence why the name is Cursed Python, because this is my idea of trolling for like a group project sort of thing. So what we have here is we're going to run main, and it's going to get functions from functions.txt. That is this file here, which this is an encoded file in base 64. This is so that way users, if someone else were to look at it, they wouldn't understand anything on it. I have a secondary file here called original functions.txt. This is what's actually stored in here. It's just encoded in functions. So what we actually have in functions.txt here is the import statements and a class for some static methods, such as like is a number even, odd, the greatest common denominator or divider, random sorting, slow echo, that sort of thing. And so we're gonna call this function get functions that I created here, and what we'll do is we'll try to open the data in read binary mode. And if it's not in base 64, which we could check here with this function, so if it's able to be decoded, then we know that it's in base 64. If it can't be decoded, meaning it's not in base 64, meaning it's plain text like what we have here, then this will return false. So then if this is false, we will encode it first, and then we will open it, and we will get the data, and then we will decode the data. Once we've gotten the decoded data here, we will run the exec function and place all of the functions into the global scope, and then we'll have our handler there. And so once we've loaded all these functions, so once this has safely executed, all of these functions are effectively in the program as if I had put them in a different file and imported them myself. It's as if I could literally copy paste this entire class, all of this stuff. I can import this, I can copy paste it, say, I don't know, the bottom of, like, I could literally put them right here where my crosshair is, and it would be completely fine to run the same way as it would now. And so what we'll end up doing, just to show off some of these, is we're going to show off an even check is 42 even. We'll press enter, and then we'll do an odd check is 7 odd. We'll then press enter and do prime factor, and then we'll do GCD. So let's run this thing. Before I run it, actually, one more thing. Because these aren't loaded until your runtime, if you're running a Python editor like I am, PyCharm in this case, both the class and the function name will be highlighted red. Of course, if you have a class name, it'll be highlighted in favor of the function. If I didn't have a class surrounding those functions, it would just be the function itself, like this even is even, would be highlighted red, but you can still run it like this perfectly fine. So even check is true, enter. Odd check is true, enter. What's this? Chaos mod unleashed. Oh boy, seems like we've got a bit of a chaos mod around here. Seems like we've tried to run some sort of calculation here and getting some weird glitch text. A lot of Seems like some zombies are being created too. Okay, seems like the chaos mod subsided, and okay, we've got our prime factors for 420, and we've got the GCD of 48. Well, that was weird. Let's see if that happens when I run it again. Oh wow, it does. Okay. Oh look, we got some art. That's actually a really cool piece of text art. I wonder how they made that. This is why you don't. I think this is probably why you shouldn't import functions from text files, because you could just. It seems like I got some sort of chaos mod triggered in here. Maybe if I change some of the utility functions, it might not happen. Let's try getting inverted. Let's try getting inverted answers from our even and odd functions. We got false there and false there. Nope, still got confuse multiply. Oh, confuse add. The result was 6, maybe. So I guess they don't know if their calculations are correct. I'm getting roasted. When you're like a cloud when you disappear, it's a beautiful day. Okay, buddy. Okay, jokes aside, yeah, that was scripted. So let's take a look at how I managed to run those chaos mod functions. So I have an innocent little file or folder here called resources in my editor, and there's a chaos.txt file in here. Now, I didn't bother to encode this because it's meant to be hidden like it is in the resource. But basically, when you run this program, there's some hidden functions underneath. When you run the get prime factors function, it triggers the chaos mod. So it runs this chaos function. Whenever you load the original functions, it'll actually call load chaos at the very bottom here and run this function. So this will bring all of the functions in resources/chaos.txt into the global scope. So in essence, we've loaded all of these functions into global scope once we've gotten original finally done. So even after this first line of code, we've already loaded the chaos mod. Chaos triggered is false, but then chaos triggered ended up triggered whenever we call. See, this function here gets called by get prime, so that's why it always happened when we try to do prime factorization. And it would call the cursed main function. This is the chaos mod controller, so to speak. So we have a bunch of functions in here, like the surprise art that you guys saw. We have the roast you, the confusion on adding and multiplying, and the infection and glitch text. But then we have the controller function that injects the chaos. This is the actual controller mod. We also have to inject the cursed main into the global scope on import. So we just have this here. So we get here a list of the functions in this class. We're looking for this class chaos, get the functions for the function in this directory. If the function is not an underscore, then we can call at most 10 chaos calls. And then while we have, while we haven't hit our limit, we just trigger some random function from that list. We're able to call them because this is just a list of functions. So we just pick a random item from that list to execute. So then we tell the user that we're triggering this function. and then we try to run that function. So if it has arguments of 0, we just call it. If it needs some random integers, we call it, and the same goes here. So you can see this function here has 2 random parameters, and then this one has 1 random parameter. Otherwise, it's got a backup. And then it has a little bit of time between calls, and whenever it's done, it'll just say that it's done. There actually used to be a infinite, or I guess an infinite scroll bar or loading bar, but I couldn't get it to work where you would press a button to cancel it, so you quite literally were just stuck with an infinite bar. I guess with the theme of chaos, if you ever got that, it worked. It was low-key funny, because it is cursed, you know, you weren't able to exit out of an infinite loop. So in a way, it's just as cursed as anything else. So the idea would have been, if you were working in a group project, to just say, oh, I have some code that I wrote, but I don't want to, you know, I just tell them, hey, I have some code here that I'm running, just don't mess with it, or something. But then in your actual, you know, your actual functions, you keep an original file of it that you can just replace this with any time, and the group mates of yours will never, you know, they won't be able to see this because it's encoded in base 64, but you'll know that it's there. And you can hide your chaos function. You could even encode it, if you wish, into some innocent looking folder like resources or assets. I thought I would do this as this was kind of a part 2 to the C# cursed video where I used dynamic as a data type to do some really stupid stuff. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video. This is a bit more on the entertaining side than the utility side of programming. Normally I do stick to the utility side of things, though this does have legit utility. The security pitfalls of it need to be verified, or need to be thought of whenever you're attempting to use something like this. I would honestly never recommend using this feature specifically for anything other than maybe running code that you get generated from like only from a trusted source would you want to use this. So anyways, I hope you guys really enjoyed this video. If you guys did, please like, comment, subscribe, check out the YouTube video website, or just the website in general. I'm going to be adding this video and the C# video right after this video gets posted to it, so when you click the randomize button, you'll be able to see these 2 videos there as well. Peace.